70. 18 years to the day after Kobe Bryant had his legendary 81-point performance, this kid, Joel Embiid, he said that Kobe was the reason why he started playing basketball. He paid homage to his idol with one of the greatest individual performances in NBA history. Here's how it went down. Sorry, Pop, you're going to have to relive it just one more time. Chiney Ogwumike, from start to finish, Joel Embiid was absolutely dominant.
Oh, yes. This is where he is just lethal. Top of the key where they cannot double him one-on-one. I mean, he has found the perfect balance to his game. He's truly a banger. Look at this. He'll just go through bodies. But what I also love is that he's got that nice, mid-range too. But how do you stop that? He's number one amongst bigs in isolation scoring. He's ferocious at getting his rebounds. And he was going up against the Spurs. So, sorry, I'm not sorry. But, this is why I say perfect balance. Look at the ball handling.
Right.
The hesitation, pull up. He can shoot over everybody, but then at the same time, he can, mix it up in the paint. They sent everybody at him. Double teams, triple teams, lost the ball, still hit it off the glass. This was a night to remember for Joel.
It didn't even matter. He had 24 points in the first quarter, the most in a first quarter by a Sixers player in the play-by-play era, Richard.
No, it was impressive. And like we saw, anytime another player shot the ball not named Joel Embiid, the crowd booed. And I was loving it, right? It wasn't even if they took good shots. But that right there, that mid-range, most bigs have the ability to roll and finish. Not many bigs have the ability to catch it there, go to work. That's a one-on-one situation that can't be guarded. This right here, again, that's big time. You got to send a double team. That's why.
Well, they did, Richard.
No, that's not a double team. A double team means you get him out of the ball.
When you have 34 and 10 in the first half.
Where's the nearest defender?
There's three of them right there, Richard.
That's not a real.
There's three of them right there, Richard.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. But who's he beat? That's Sohan right there.
Please tell
okay,
me.
now Wemby, when he goes to Wemby, he does a little bit more of that, and that's what makes him unstoppable. But make no mistake, when you see what Joel can do in a consistent situation, there is no guarding him. But look, we're not going to talk about game plans. We're going to talk about how ridiculous what he did. I was live texting JJ Redick and Ryan Rucco. I was like, he's got a 38.
Yeah. Jay and I were live texting each other.
We have to call the Philly-Denver game next. Sorry for working early. And so when I'm watching this, it was just like, oh, he's got 53. He's got 57.
It
was like every 30 seconds.
Points through three quarters. That ties a career high for him. We still had a fourth quarter to go. Embiid with 61 at this point.
Is that Jeremy Sohan right there? Yep, midi.
But, okay, this has to be the most unguardable play in basketball right now.
Right there, that right there. If he knocks that down, there's no defense.
7-footer that can drive through you, but also can play defense, that can handle the rock as we're seeing it right now and go right through you. You're saying double teams, triple teams. Who on the Spurs could have the strength to withhold him? Nobody.
Joel Embiid, 70 points. Sixers win 133-123.
They did it the right way. When you got a guy going, you want to make sure you do it the right way.
Let's go by the numbers on Embiid's 70-point game, starting with him playing just 36 minutes and 38 seconds on Monday. That's the fewest time played in a 70-point game in NBA history. Embiid has proven he doesn't need much time, though, to score. He's averaging 38 points per 36 minutes this season. That's on pace to be the most points per minute by a qualified player in NBA history. That's just ahead of Wilt in 61-62. And then Embiid's 70-point game, it shifted the MVP odds by ESPN Bet. He's now even odds at plus 100 after entering the game at plus 200. That does put some distance between himself and Nikola Jokic. I mean, Zach, just an all-time performance from Joel Embiid. What was going through your mind as you watched him last night?
Almost nothing. He kind of broke my mind, actually, and I just sat there and enjoyed it like a grinning idiot. I mean, what are you going to say? The guy had 70 points. He's shooting 53% on long twos, and it feels like he's shooting 80%. He's basically Dirk Nowitzki from there at this point, and there's just nothing you can do other than reach in the cookie jar and foul him, and he gets to the line a million times a game. He's seen every defense this year. Nick Nurse is putting him in different kinds of positions. You just sit there in awe of what this guy is doing, which is quite simply producing what is on track to be maybe the greatest scoring season in the history of the sport when you consider his minutes played and the context. It's absolutely crazy what he's doing. He's averaging 36 points a game as a center. It's ridiculous.
greatest scoring season in the history of the sport. But what's wild is when you listen to him, Zach, it doesn't seem like he cares that much about it. I know you're making a face, Richard, but to him, it's all about what the 76ers do in the postseason. Do you believe that with this excellent scoring season that he's having, that he can lead this team to the NBA Finals?
To him? To everyone in the basketball community, media included, we know how great Joel Embiid is. We know that he was number 2 in voting for MVP. We know that he won the MVP last year. We know that it's even odds for him to win it again. You make your legacy, and he's one of the legacy players. Very few players have legacy at risk. You make that in the postseason. That is the only, I'm not saying that this doesn't matter. This is beautiful for the game of basketball. The entire league was watching what he was doing.
And then upping their game in real time.
Everybody was like, yo.
And
so for me, I look at it as like, we know. He can win another MVP. And it's the same criticism that you've seen of other players. LeBron when he won the first couple MVPs. Giannis when he won. If you don't have playoff success, all of this, it does not that it doesn't matter, but it has a different level. When we watched Michael Jordan, who was the greatest, a lot of people's minds of all time, it was because he was putting these epic defensive categories, like offensive categories. His team was winning 65 games, and he was winning the championship and finals MVP. That is the level of greatness that we associate players like Joel Embiid with. So yes, if he goes out in the second round, which we're going to discuss later, if they go in the second round, then yeah, it feels like there's something that's missing. End of the day, this is one of the most epic nights in NBA history, and I'm glad I got to watch.
Yeah, if he scores 70 in the postseason and they win a championship, this team can do it, but the reality is that that's not.
Giannis putting up 50.
But that's my point.
Giannis putting up 50.
The reality
Game 6
is
of the
that
finals.
that's not how the playoffs go. The game slows down. It's going to be way more strategic. I don't think this iteration exactly is like the favorite to win a championship, but the way he's playing, he is a championship caliber player, right?
Because Karl-Anthony Towns, he had himself a night.
So did the Hornets.
Things got interesting. He did drop 62 points in this one. Let's start with the good. Let's start with the good for Karl-Anthony Towns. This is early here in the first quarter. Gets it going from 3.
Yeah, and he's been saying that he wants to be and is statistically in some ways the best shooting big in the NBA. I think he started out 8 for 9 from 3, and then, they started feeding the hot hand. Now the question is, how long do you keep feeding the hot hand?
Well, in the first quarter, it stayed the hot hand. 20 points in the first.
Threes,
as he continues.
Well, how are you dropping and covering Karl-Anthony Towns? Look at this. You're recovering up to them.
Hey, but they still had a chance, Richard.
I understand that, but not based off of their defense. They had a chance because the Wolves let them back into the situation.
Well, then going ahead to the second quarter here, about 3 minutes left, the Timberwolves up. Towns hits another big one. Here's our Hornets play-by-play announcer.
This new record, 38. No!
He's on the wrong team.
Eric Collins is a national treasure.
Yes, he is.
That's what I say when you walk in the studio. No, Richard.
He couldn't believe it. Same. Next possession here in the third quarter. The Timberwolves up. Karl-Anthony Towns, he drives, slams the ball. He had 50 points, and he just couldn't be stopped yet.
But yeah, again, look at this lead. He was cooking. But there is a good way to do this, and there is a wrong way to do this. You got to make a couple of passes, in my opinion, to keep the defense honest. And your teammates have to keep playing defense at a high level to sustain your ability to go after that ball. And they just lost their focus in the fourth quarter.
And this is the team, at the record position that is the best in the West. And at some point, the Hornets were like, hey, let him beat us because we're getting back in this thing.
Yep, the Hornets, here they come. They take the lead here up 3 with 2 minutes left to go. Just extending that lead at this point. Karl-Anthony Towns, who had finished with 62 points, 10 of 15 from
That was
3.
a foul. That was I don't know if the 2-minute report comes out.
Yeah.
But that is a foul. And unfortunately,
wanted the call.
That was the call. It should have been a call.
Not
Look
the
at that.
verticality. It was before that.
Yeah.
Timberwolves, they go on to lose 128-125.
He kept his cool, though.
So after scoring 22 points in each of his first 2 quarters, he scored just 14 in the third and then just 4 points on 2 of 10 shooting in the fourth. That's after making 19 of 25 shots in the first 3 quarters. So here's what head coach Chris Finch had to say. He didn't hold back after the loss.
He's right.
It was an absolute disgusting performance of defense. and immature basketball. I mean, there's lots of times when just because you've scored 2 or 3 or 4 points in a row or baskets in a row, it doesn't, obviously we're going to try to feed a hot hand, look for a hot hand, but at some point we got to get back to making the right play.
Did it turn into Karl trying to hunt like a big number?
Yeah, but for a while, it was going. But, down the stretch, we kind of dried up for us.
I'll tell you one thing, he ain't lying to y'all because he said the same thing to us. So what you're hearing about him in the postgame is what we're hearing in the locker room. And just it's the words he picked today, and it's true. I think that at the end of the game, with everything going and everything, we just have to find a way to be mature.
So, Zach Lowe, you have had concerns about the Timberwolves' late game execution. How are you feeling after watching this?
This is so Wolvesy, it's almost painful. Only the Minnesota Timberwolves could have a homegrown star score 62 points and have another player on another team score 70 on the same night, and you lose the game, and the guy who scores 62 points gets benched late in the fourth quarter, and your coach goes off on you like that. Oh my God, this is the pressure of expectations. I can't wait to see how the Wolves respond to this. But yes, offensively, at gut check time, do you trust Anthony Edwards and Karl Towns' decision-making with the ball? No Mike Conley last night. That matters. We'll see how they respond. I'm not going to go crazy over one loss, but that was like a perfect storm of, if you are a little worried about the Wolves' offense late in games, that's why. Only the Wolves. Very Wolvesy.
Yeah, that was a quintessential Wolvesian performance, it felt like. And this is why, you feel like the Timberwolves, they've been dominant all season long, but sometimes the questions still come up about how successful they're going to be in the postseason.
NBA